Hey guys, it's Paul once again to bring you another rare obscure movie review, and this time I have something very special. It's a super rare and obscure movie. I've wanted it for the longest time, and I finally obtained it a couple of weeks ago. Got it for a decent price, and that's pretty much why I haven't had it sooner. It's because it always went for a ridiculous amount of money. But for the longest time, it was on the top of my list right next to Mom is Home. A few years ago, I got Mom is Home, and then I needed to get Spine. They were like my two most wanted tapes. Look at it. It's friggin' awesome. Look at this glorious big box. This, if you're a VHS collector, you probably want this. It's probably on the top of your list if you don't already have it. This is an SOV slasher, and a lot of the SOV slashers are very wanted in the collecting community. If you have an SOV, almost any SOV slasher is highly collectible. This is a super rare one. This is not on some mainstream label like Continental. This is SS. That's all it says, SS. Nothing to do with Nazis like I once thought immediately. Actually, SS stands for Sterling Silver. I don't know any other movies under that label, if there even are any other movies under that label. It's a production of Xeon Limited. From what I understand, they made a bunch of porn stuff back in the day. Maybe they're still around, who knows. Maybe there are porn videos under Sterling Silver, I don't know. But on the back of the box it actually says in the fine print, Foreplay Video Inc., 1986. So maybe there are some videos under the distribution label of Foreplay, but Foreplay just gives it away that it's related to porn, obviously. It was probably marketed in the same catalogs that sold porn. So if you had a video store that stocked a nice porn section, they would probably have a tape like this. I'm just speculating, of course, but I'm guessing that's why this might be super rare. I mean, it's on its own label, so that kind of tells you you got something extremely rare. For instance, 555 is on its own label. Whenever you have something like that, it kind of says small scale, and like I said, super rare. The box is pretty cool. My most favorite part of this box is that logo. Look at those letters. They're very creepy and macabre and bloody, and I guess it's supposed to look like the title was kind of carved into someone's skin. Probably my favorite logo of all the videos I own. I also love the images on this box, some of the still images. The front is kind of cool. Got that girl cowering in the corner there with the guy with the knife behind her. That's a very common imagery there. You see that on a lot of videos. Slumber Party Massacre, and there's a bunch of them actually. And let's see. The side we have that still shot here of him holding that knife against that girl's throat while she's tied up. That looks really cool, right? On the top you have another one, another still image, a different one. Girl there with a sheet on her, and she looks naked. Very deceiving, which we'll get into in a little bit. But she's there naked with a sheet over her, and that guy has that knife behind her, and it's all bloodied up. Looks really cool. Same image on the bottom spine. But I love the back of this box. It looks totally cool. Got this. It's horizontal, first of all, but you got this girl lying down, gutted up. Part of the plot is that he cuts their spine or something like that, like he pulls their spine out, even though it's nothing like that is shown in the movie. The synopsis is pretty dead on, almost dead on. Either they are trying to screw our expectations or just screwed up the synopsis on the back, because there's a line here that is totally wrong about the movie. It says, finally, the killer tires of playing with his prey and decides to kill them. He doesn't actually kill the two girls in the movie, as you'll see in a second. So, and also, it kind of feels like that's a bad way to market a movie, right? It seems like they're giving away the ending. So if you're in a video store and you're reading it, you know, of course you rent these movies to watch the gore and stuff, but still, you want to kind of be left in some sort of suspense as to what happens at the end. On the back, it says approximate running time. 90 minutes. This movie, thank goodness, is not 90 minutes. It's actually 70 minutes. And that 20-minute difference is a significant difference. I was watching this, and before I get into the movie itself, I'll just say that it's really, really boring. It's a terribly boring film for this type of movie. And as I'm watching, I'm just looking at the clock, waiting for this thing to end. And it ended in the 70-minute mark, and I was really happy about that, because I was just bored out of my mind. So the fact that it was 70 minutes, you know, kind of made me a tad happy. Now, whenever I talk about these films and I talk about how much I got a film for, even though I'm getting a good deal on it, people seem kind of shocked. I got this film for about $80, I think I paid for it. It goes for on eBay, I think right now, between $150, $200, maybe even more. cut boxes are even selling of this thing. It's a very rare movie. And there's two different audiences that watch my YouTube reviews. There's the ones that are interested in horror, obscure movies, and there's others who are VHS collectors. And the ones who aren't VHS collectors will always say, why would you pay that much for a stupid, awful movie? I wouldn't pay 10 cents for that movie. Well, first of all, they're kind of dumb to say that, because if the movie's selling for 150 or 200 bucks, a smart person would buy that movie for 10 cents and try to resell it to a collector for whatever it's worth, 150, 200 bucks. But another thing is that they don't understand. We collect these things. We don't only buy them for the movie. Sure, we watch the movie. Look at me. I watched the movie to review it, to talk about the film itself, but we also collect them. These are little historical landmarks of the 80s. I love these things. And the imagery and the nostalgia of this kind of video art, and just imagining it being on a video store shelf next to other horror movies, maybe like Friday the 13th or something like that. I think that's really interesting. That's why we buy the movies. We collect them, and it's really rare. It's something cool to have. It's like a piece of history. Now, for the movie itself, I know the box is cool, and you think because it's made by a porn company, you're going to have something very sleazy and gory. Not at all. This movie is incredibly boring. In fact, there's not a lot of details I could talk about to make this review that more interesting. But there's a few things that are, I guess, interesting, or twists. But for the most part, most of the movie is extremely boring. And to burst everyone's bubble, there's no gore in this movie. There's almost no blood. And there's pretty much like no nudity. I think you see like half a boob or a nipple in this movie, and that's about it. You don't see anything. It's a weird thing, because this is made by a porn company. You think they'd, friggin' jack up the sleaze in a movie like this, and they don't. It's friggin' weird. In fact, in one shot, it seems like they make an effort not to show a girl's butt or her chest, which we'll get into in a little while, but I just thought that was weird. There's nothing here in this movie. The movie starts off with a girl. She's in a dark room. It's all black, and she's tied up. And when he's about to stab her, cuts to the title card. And that's pretty much what happens in every death scene, which we don't get to see. It's all off screen. We don't get to see that knife come down into her skin. In fact, there is like really rarely any blood in this movie. There's a lot of stalking of nurses, him in his car, following chicks around. He eventually subdues them, ties them up, torments them a little bit, just waving the knife in front of their face. And then when he's about to kill them, it cuts off. Everything's off screen. And I don't understand. Made by a porn company, you think that they would, exploit the murder of these nurses or whatever, but they really don't do a good job at that. In fact, I feel like there's a lot of bondage inspiration in this film because of how the girls are tied up. But don't get the wrong idea, there actually isn't that many victims in this movie. I think there's 5 or something, probably around that number, and there's one girl that actually gets away. And then, like I said, you got these bumbling detectives. I mean, that reminds me of so many other SOV movies. And they're trying to crack the case. It first begins with them going to the first victim's house, and right off the bat, one of the detectives looks right into the camera. It's like you're already screwed up this early in the movie. So for the first half of the movie, all we have is girls getting tied up, killed off screen. I mean, that whole scene of them being tied up and stuff looks really cool. It's really morbid and stuff. It's lit very well, at least in my opinion. But there's no money shots, so it just goes to waste in my opinion. We got a lot more shots of nurses talking in offices, detectives talking at a large table, bunch of that crap. Boring crap. Nothing really happens. There's nothing really interesting. The filmmaking isn't like so bad that I could pick it apart and make fun of it. It's just bland and boring, and no blood, nothing. Eventually, what happens is that one nurse calls a friend in Las Vegas. I think this is where the killings are occurring. I don't know. They don't make it very clear. But one nurse contacts her friend in Las Vegas or something, and she wants to hang out with her friend there. And now you got these 2 nurses at this mansion. In fact, one of the nurses is house sitting this mansion. Not that that really is relevant to the plot at all. It could have just been her house. It wouldn't have made a difference. But they make it sound like she was house sitting the house. Maybe because they want to put her in a big house, but it doesn't seem like a nurse would afford it, so I don't know. But you got these 2 nurses just hanging out there, more talking, and the killer somehow finds them there. It's just like, how does this guy know that there are 2 nurses in this? Is there something I missed in the plot? I don't know, but how does he know to go to this house that there are 2 nurses there? Did he follow the bus there? I just don't remember any clues to that. But he comes knocking at their door, pretending he's like a delivery guy or a maintenance guy or whatever. But after this whole creepy encounter, they make him go away or whatever. She ends up going out anyway, and she doesn't even allow enough time for this guy to go away. She's like, alright, I'm gonna go jogging. I mean, alright, jogging. Whenever you think of girls jogging, because I watch a lot of the news, like what happens in Central Park, girls jogging, they get friggin' raped, so you'd think she'd have an instinct to like wait a while before she goes back outside. But no, she goes jogging. And then the guy comes in the house, subdues the one friend, and then I think he eventually gets the girl that was jogging, so he got both girls in the house tied up. And pretty much, he gets on this whole story. We kind of understand why he's killing these girls, and it's really weird and strange, actually. I guess this is a little bit interesting in the movie. He thinks one girl is named Linda, but he starts going on this rant while she's tied up talking, saying, no one loved Mama like I did, and you pushed Mama down the stairs, and all this weird stuff. And he was like going on saying, no one could love Mama like I can love her. And it was getting very incestual, actually. It was incestuous, I think that's the right terminology. But it was getting really weird at that point. And he just goes on and on rambling about mama issues, I guess. I mean, that aspect has been explored in other movies, I guess, but I guess this one, they just try to make it really weird, I guess sleazy, but I don't know. But according to him, this girl, Linda, whoever his real sister is, she never appears in the movie. She pushed Mama down the stairs and stabbed him in the eye. The reason why he's wearing the glasses the whole movie is, well, maybe to, hide his identity, but also because he has a point in the movie. He lifts his glasses up and he has a big gouge, like his eyeball was ripped out. And apparently Linda did that to him. So we got this whole weird thing going on, but it gets even more weird. At one point, he gets the one girl go upstairs, and he's acting super creepy. There's this whole part, He doesn't say blatantly, maybe he does, that Linda or who he thinks is Linda is his sister. But he actually, and here's the sleaziest part, he actually does rape her. He cuts her pants, she's bent over, and he actually does rape her. But he believes she's his sister. I guess more incestuous crap going on in the movie. But it's not graphic rape. It's not as sleazy as you would think it is. In fact, I almost missed the part where the girl does take a shower. The camera makes an effort to be right above her waist, so you don't really get to see her butt. You get to see half a boob, I think. But I think that's really by accident, actually. You'd think they'd get porn stars. I mean, I don't even know, maybe they were porn stars, but you think that they'd have tons of nudity in this movie. In fact, they're very careful to make sure she walks into the shower before she turns around, so you don't see her boobs that well. The girl or person who he thinks is his sister, he ends up stabbing her like a maniac. The other girl from upstairs escapes, comes down, and sees him stabbing the hell out of her, but he's all bloodied up. You don't see the knife go into the girl, you just see him jab that knife in her, blood all over the place. Still, you don't get to see that knife go into the girl's skin. The money shot. And you would think that, like I said, a company involved with porn would get that, but they didn't. This is such an incredibly boring movie. The only thing interesting about this movie is that whole incestuous implication. That's it. Well, there is another twist. Right after this girl discovers her friend being stabbed to death by this maniac, she wakes up on the couch. So that whole scene, the scene from the point where he enters the house, is all a dream. So that whole half hour is like, you just made me sit through a half-hour dream. They're both alive, and the girl's like, wow, I just had a scary dream. And guess what? 2 seconds later, the detective knocks on this door. It's like, how did he just pick this random house to knock on the door and say, have you seen this serial killer here? It's so weird. Maybe I missed something because I cannot hear anything in this movie. The audio was so wretched. In fact, actually, you want to know how the detective finds her? And this is something that keeps reoccurring in my reviews of these movies. He types in some things into a computer, and it comes up. Serial killer's name and everything. They overestimate computers so much in the 80s. I wish computers really worked like that. They were like thought of as psychics in the 80s. I don't know. I guess people who didn't know anything about computers thought they were that powerful. Or maybe they thought they could just fool the audience into thinking they're that powerful. So like I was saying, the detective knocks on the door, and she starts asking, like, do you know who his mother is? And then the detective answers, and it matches the story she got from her dream. And she's like, oh, just wondering. I'm like, if you dreamt this, why don't you tell the detective? I mean, I know that he may not believe you, but you can give him more facts and maybe you can collaborate, come up with some more information of where this guy might be. It might be helpful to the detective to tell him you had this vivid dream. That might be relevant. But she doesn't. She's just like, oh, okay. And the detective leaves. Then the killer comes. And now the friend is freaking out. She's telling her friend not to go outside. Her dream's coming true or something like that. They don't open the door for the killer. In fact, he goes to the garage. Weird thing is that he gets shot. You're wondering, who the hell shot him? When he went in the garage, there's no other guys there. The detective was in the garage waiting. That's so weird. Why would the detective be waiting in the garage? They already told him that they didn't see him. What reason did the detective have to hang out in the garage? Is he a rapist too? Was he waiting to rape these two girls? There's no reason for him to be in there. I was just thinking, what the hell is he doing in their garage? And what is it like? It's like a lucky coincidence. He ends up hiding where the killer is entering the house. What a fortunate coincidence, right? He dies, and that's the end of the movie. And then we get title cards telling us killer was shot dead, and the detective was tried in court for murdering the killer, but he got off, he got acquitted, and just a bunch of worthless information that is not even interesting. And then we get the titles on the credits. And that's about it. That's Spine. This movie is incredibly boring. The only two interesting things about, well, three I should say, three interesting things about this movie is the VHS release. The box looks really cool. It's an SOV slasher. That fact makes it interesting, and the fact that there's this weird incestuous implication in the movie, and the fact that he like rapes who he thinks is his sister. The third thing that was interesting is that whole half hour of the movie was just a dream, but the way they pull it off is so sloppy. I guess that's supposed to be the twist ending that they talk about in the back of the box, because like I said, the box says he kills the two girls and they don't actually die. And even if you consider the dream, only one girl dies in the dream, so it's not even right at all. But that's Spine. A lot of people see these really obscure, rare titles, and they want to have them in their collection, but, you know, sometimes whenever I see titles that are super rare, I'm just curious, like, what is that movie like? You know, the video is so rare, but what's the movie like? Like, I would love to just, like, pick it apart, and that's what I was able to do with Spine. And you're not missing much. There's not a lot of blood. There is almost no nudity. It's just a lot of talking and bad dialogue, and the sound quality, like I said, is awful. I cannot hear anything. It's so muffled. I don't know if it's the VHS or what. I don't think it's the VHS itself. I think that's just how they made the movie, because some things that were redubbed, you could tell they were dubbed later, they sound very good. But most of the movie sounds muffled. It sounds terrible. I don't know what their intent was with this movie. If it was to make a gory, sexy, sleazy movie like you would imagine with a lot of SOV slashers, it's not this. I mean, the box suggests it, but I don't know what their intent was. Just to come up with a cool box and just put something junky inside, which I think happened often, like with Death Nurse, right? Better than Death Nurse, by the way, but it's still incredibly boring. That's about it. I don't know. I didn't really look up too much about the people who were involved with this. Probably people involved with porn. You know, I just had no interest. It's just such a... I say it again, it's just such a boring movie. But yeah, finally glad I could review it and let you guys know that you're not missing much. That's it. This has been Paul with VHScollector.com. Come by the site and submit your artwork, and it's growing. And hopefully we could complete some of those catalogs on the site, so come by, submit artwork. And that's pretty much it with me. You guys have a good night.
Your friend is taking a little nap, Linda. I thought it best she not hear this conversation. I mean, why drag her into it?
What do you want? My name is not Linda. It's not Linda!
I was taking care of Mona. It wasn't right that they sent you and took me away. I used to do things for her. I washed her. I bathed her. I rubbed her back. She didn't need you. She needed me.
Right. You're right. You're right. I did take care of Mama. But I didn't want you to leave. didn't want you to go. I wanted to take care of you, too.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
That's not what they told me when they put me in that room. They told me you said I wanted to hurt Mama.
No.
That's what they told me, Linda.
Oh. They lied to you. They lied to you. They did. They lied to you. So why don't you just untie me? Okay? We can be friends. So you just take these off me right now. Because I want to take care of you. I want to take care of you.
That's what you said before, Linda. You were going to be my friend. You pretended to like me and play up to me, and then when I wanted to touch you, you wouldn't let me. And then when I tried to show you it was all right and have you touch me, you started to scream and you wouldn't stop. And then you hurt me and called the police. And then they hurt me too, Linda. Yeah, they hurt me real bad. Yeah. So,
No.
I think we're just gonna have to tie you up again. No, Linda.
No.
No.